guys, welcome back. I am officially home from Alabama. I have not done anything yet to even unpack it. My rods are still together. I have a grocery bag, a tackle I need to go through and organize. My backpack's just disorganized. It's a mess. It's a mess, but I just haven't had the energy yet to sort through it. I spent the last 8 days fishing my butt off, and I had a phenomenal time. I just have not had the energy to organize. I am so excited to show you guys how this tournament went. I could tell you right now that I placed 31st out of 80-something anglers, which is an amazing jump from my first tournament. I had a blast. On the first day, I only brought 2 fish to the scales when I am allotted 3, but the second day, I brought 3 fish to the scales. It was my first limit. I was so excited. I was so stoked, and I had a pretty decent fish in there in the mix. Ultimately, I was in 31st place, which meant that I cut a check. This is the first time I've been paid to fish, which is awesome. I'm so excited. Truly, I haven't stopped talking about it in days. I'm so stoked. But without further ado, let's jump into this video. I'll show you a little bit of the fishing I did with my friend beforehand. I'll show you a little bit of the practice I did right before the tournament, and then I'll show you what I got from the tournament. I'm really excited to share it with you. I had a blast, and I hope you guys enjoy watching it. My first few days in Alabama, I spent catching up with the guy who taught me how to fish. He's the guy who started it all. We hit several lakes in the area. We checked out Lay Lake, Henry Neely Lake, and Lake Jordan. Alabama is so beautiful and chock full of beautiful lakes to fish. We had a truly great time catching up, and there were more fish caught than I could ever put into one video. After a few days of fun fishing, it was time to gear up for the tournament. My first day of practice on Logan Martin looked like this. It was kind of scary, but it cleared up quickly and turned into a beautiful day. This day of practice I spent with Danny McGarry, who is the boater I had on my second day at Lake Ouachita. Even though we only had a few hours to practice this day, it was super important that I got this time on the water, because as it turned out, a lot of the lures I brought weren't the best for the conditions, and so I got the chance to change some things up the night before the tournament. Eventually, the first morning of the tournament rolled around, and I was partnered with Andrew Upshaw. It was awesome sharing a boat with Andrew for the day. He was so kind, so knowledgeable, and it was a really great learning experience to hear about how he broke down the water for an efficient day of fishing. I was super excited to catch my first drum and to learn how to skip docks a little bit better. I don't often have the opportunity to skip docks, mostly because the bodies of water I fish don't have very many, and also it was always tricky to do it while sitting in a kayak that wasn't the most stable thing in the world. So this was awesome to give me the opportunity to be around a lot of docks and to just have time to make the mistakes I needed to make and to just keep practicing. And look, it's still not pretty. I'm still not very good at it, but I can say I'm better now than I was before this trip to Alabama. On this first day of the tournament, we did spend a good majority of the day around docks. In this situation, I was throwing a lot of Texas rigs and wacky worms, trying to get those things skipped up under in the shaded area of the docks, while in other portions of the day we were kind of fishing rocky banks, in which case I was throwing Ned rigs and square bill crankbaits, things like that. So all in all, this day I ended up catching 2 spotted bass. Spotted bass are not something I'm super comfortable with, so it was really awesome to learn about them, and because of those 2 spotted bass I got to walk up on the stage, got to show off my fish for a little bit, and before I knew it, it was time for day 2. On day 2, I was partnered with Lance Crawford, who again was a phenomenal person to be partnered with. I've been so lucky to be partnered with 4 really great boaters who have been so patient and so kind and understanding while I'm here learning as much as I can. On this second day, we didn't spend as much time around docks. We were in kind of more open water, but still very shallow. So I started the day with a different bait, spook. I got to see about 150 gar, no lie, they were everywhere on this lake. We were one of the last boats to take off on day 2, but either way, we were on the water fishing by 6:45, and by 9:30 or so, I had 3 fish in the boat. None of them were very big. They were all right about the same size, all cookie cutter, exactly 12 inches. I would call for maybe an ounce here or there. It was really hard to say. Each fish was exactly the same. Until we came around this point, I decided to throw a Texas rig right on the outside of this grass line, and I had a bite that was so much different than every other one I had had that morning. Every bite before this one was maybe a 1 pounder if I was lucky. But then this one came along and things changed just a little bit. Lance was kind enough to jump right into action and help me get this fish in the boat. It felt awesome to get something a little bit bigger than a pound in the boat, that's for sure. Lance got me so hyped up for this catch. He was so awesome to share the boat with, to share this experience with, and that nearly 4-pound fish got to cull that 1 pounder, and with that, I was able to take 3 fish onto this stage. It meant that it was the first time I was able to have a full limit, and boy, was that something special. I used a ton of baits in the last 8 days, but these are the ones that did like the most work for me. Just a trick worm, I used specifically the Sensi worm by Yamamoto Baits. A Ned rig was unbeatable. A Senko, unbeatable. I had an underspin. I used a Mayer Crush City style swim bait. That did most of my catching in areas there was a shad spawn. That was awesome. I used a different baits, topwater, walking style bait, and a crankbait. Chartreuse seemed to be what they wanted the most. Though I had several colors, most of my fish came on chartreuse. Well, that about sums it up. I had such a great time. I learned so much. I had 2 more incredible boaters. That means so far I've had 4 boaters and all 4 have been phenomenal. So kind, so knowledgeable, so patient. I have a lot of questions. I try not to bother them because clearly this is their job, but you know, every once in a while I got a question and they're just so easy to talk to and to chat with and to like pick their brains. My first tournament, I had Brian Post and Danny McGarry. Danny, I am so especially thankful for letting me tag along during practice. I learned so much in that practice window, and then Danny went on to win 8th or 9th place in the tournament overall. He did fantastic. I was so excited for him. How much fun is that? He got to be on TV on the last day of the tournament. He had a camera live in his boat. It was so cool. He is such a rock star. What a great job he did. And then in this tournament, I had Andrew Upshaw and Lance Crawford, 2 more great guys. I just am so lucky to have had the experience I've had. Anyway, thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm hoping to do a few fishing videos between now and when I go to my 3rd and final tournament for the year, so stick around. Let's see what we can get into. Let's see how many fish we can go catch. I think we're in for a really good time. Thank y'all for watching, and I'll see you real soon.